All right, hopefully this is working. I'm getting a little bit coming through, so that seems like it's hopefully working. Cool. I'm texting Tigran. Now if going live, yeah, wanna test, make sure you can hear me. Because I have no idea the way I'm doing this. Okay, I guess I should do this in like a slightly more conducive to me looking at the screen kind of way, shouldn't I? Cool. All right, sweet. So Tigran says he can hear it. We got two people watching. That means we are in business. Hello. I guess there's 1 minute left, so I should probably wait for another minute. You get a minute of silence while I still set up my computer. A little less background, a little more keyboards. That's working. Wrong box. Okay. I think that should be pretty much yeah, here we go. Setting. Cool. Hello, everybody. Whoever's there, this is Sous Chef. I'm also go by Antoine Martel in my regular life when I'm not being a performing musician. And I work at Music Works Northwest as one of the piano and guitar teachers. And as well, kind of trying to bring over a little bit of sort of production and kind of computer work and music composition stuff of that end. With all this COVID thing going on and music was trying to figure out some more online stuff to do, they asked me if I'd be willing to kind of share some stuff with you guys. And I thought we could do something kind of cool with these COVID diaries that I've been working on. I don't know how many of you caught the kind of at the beginning of the week, I submitted a video to Kristen from the music therapy department with like kind of a songwriting challenge. And the challenge was kind of inspired by this project, which was to take a piece of traditionally non musical content, right? And compose music to it and with it in order to use it to make some kind of, interesting new song. So these COVID diaries will kind of fall within that because what they are essentially is that since the beginning of quarantine in this coronavirus situation, on a weekly basis, I have been interviewing 11 people, more or less. There's a variability there, but 11 people I'm following. Um, and every week I do an interview with them over the phone, which I record. And then they talk about just basically like how was their week, anything that's on their mind, how quarantine has been affecting their life. And then I take that, edit it a little bit, make some music behind it, package that as like a nice little listening experience, and put that up on a Bandcamp at thecoviddiaries.bandcamp.com. That is then right kind of like a huge library that gets updated every week with my material. And additionally, it's a project where other people are welcome to join and participate in creating their own COVID diaries if they have people they think would be interesting to talk to and kind of track in this period of time. So we've also got my friend Watson Moon, who's doing 4 COVID diaries, as well as my friend Rob the Soundbank, who is going to be releasing his first ones next week. So that's going to be pretty exciting. But for today, what brings you all here, and the reason this has a weird COVID title, is because I'll be making the music behind my some of my COVID diaries this week, just in front of you guys live. You can kind of see how it all works. Um, yeah, hope that's a sufficient introduction. If anything, I guess if anybody has any questions, please feel free to use the chat or whatever. Or I'll try to be attentive to things. And with that, we'll just kind of dive in. I've got my friend Michael pulled up here as the kind of first individual. Maybe if I move the microphone, you'll be able to see a little bit. I like to work in Ableton Live. I have Ableton 9 because I'm not wealthy and updating is expensive. And I already have a lot of projects kind of going in 9. And, I don't know. I don't have the $350 to basically buy the new one. It seems like an investment I could avoid for a while. So I'm working in Ableton 9. And for starters, we're just going to listen to Michael here, and I'm going to kind of just chop up the interview because that's kind of the first phase. You get a raw track, but I kind of always want to make sure that people aren't just being redundant or anything like that. I'll try to loosely point the microphone towards the speakers. Maybe that'll make it a better listening experience. But yeah, I don't know. Shoot away if you got any questions. Otherwise, I'm gonna spend the next kind of 5 minutes while with you guys listening, chopping up this interview. Let's see what happens.
Jeez. Okay. Week 6. Well, what new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy.
Thank you.
We had a lot of. Jeez. Okay. Week 6. Week 6. Um, well, what new things are there to report?
Right, all that we can like. I guess maybe it's good for me to have this here so I can talk still. Right, like things like that. All that we can just crop out. And it's just umming and thinking. I like starting with week 6 because it lets you know where you're at.
Week 6. What new things are there to report?
Sounds better.
I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. Um, we had a lot of.
Right, that's another kind of that doesn't feel like it needs to be there.
We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually.
Sometimes I'm more or less active about removing things like this.
So the week went by actually pretty.
I think it's good to kind of try to maintain. Raise the volume a bit, please. Sure. Yeah. What's that? Is that better? Is that? Let me know if that's better, Tigran. I don't know if you meant the volume of the person talking or the volume of me talking. I changed me talking and I'm making both louder. Let's see if that's better.
So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's not.
Work is kind of the usual stuff. We don't need that before there. I think it's important to kind of try to maintain a lot of naturalism so it doesn't sound like you're chopping up the person, but also you kind of want to keep the person, whoever's listening, interested in what's going on.
Most of the time, work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's not nothing new to report there. But the time outside of work, it's
Like those little clicks, love those. Those always sound great. You can tell it's a real person when you hear that in there.
the time outside of work. Let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had, and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it, and I've been like trying some cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other thing.
There's another not necessary. We can probably take that click out too, right?
Days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show. It was Netflix TV miniseries called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas, back Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and it's pretty dramatic. So that's been kind of interesting to watch. What else have I been doing?
Right, like there you got a double We don't need both. The one kind of shows you that he's thinking, but the two just kind of gets redundant.
That's what I've been doing. Starting to try and work out again. I've gained like 15 pounds just sitting on the couch eating. So trying to go for runs or do some like body weight exercises to try and get the pounds off would be nice by the time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that I think they're gradually going to start opening things up. I saw they're like opening up the parks and like.
See, like right there, that's the section where it's like, all right, well maybe we could take out like a pretty good. Oh, nice. Hey, what's up, Drew? We could take out a pretty good chunk of that because it's just kind of like being repetitive, right? So
things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that I think they're gradually going to start opening things up. I saw they're like opening up the parks and.
Right, we could probably sneak away with.
Pounds off would be nice by the time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that they're like opening up the park.
Boom. If we just kind of crop that in there.
It's also kind of nice they're like opening up the
That's a little too much. I feel like give him a little more.
Time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that they're like opening up the parks and
Feels
like
pretty
golf
natural to
and
me.
fishing and stuff. So hopefully, as long as things um, don't get worse all of a sudden, we're kind of on the up and up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. Um, this week again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So gonna be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory.
Michael's got his priorities in the right place, just personally speaking.
Time things start games. Had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory. So
Right, that's a weird little bit where it's clearly the cell phone that did something wrong because Michael certainly didn't say "ma'am" or "re." So I don't know. Sometimes I leave him. Sometimes I try to shorten the gap a little bit.
had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory.
That's like a little
So
better.
playing through all of those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash, um, and then we'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading. Hopefully the weather stays a little. Smash.
I think get rid of the end then.
Super Smash. We'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading. Hopefully the weather stays a little bit nicer. And yeah, continue working out, trying to lose weight and cooking. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to the next 5 or 6 days. And then I work again next week. So we'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
Boom, there you go. Right now we've gotten our way through a whole interview's worth of content. It took us about 10 minutes, and now that's ready for music underneath it, right? Because now it's just kind of like more enjoyable to listen to. It's a speedy process. I have to kind of make my life easier and be able to move quicker. I have been doing this in maybe what is a not recommended production style, but yeah, again, everything about this project is just kind of about moving quickly because there's so much to do, rather than making the best sounding perfect item you could make. There's a time and a place for many different kinds of versions of approaches, and this one is a fast and effective. It's kind of my aim for this stuff. So I've been just recording. This session has all the weeks of the thing, and ever since week one, I kind of just adjusted the vocals so that they're already compressed so that they're at a decent level. They already have the EQ on them that I know that Michael's phone, because this is week 6 that I've got on Michael's phone. That's the EQ is going to be. There is one thing I learned from a YouTube video the other day that I figured is worth sharing in this moment, about kind of dealing with spoken vocals, which I didn't know this trick before, and I think it's a pretty interesting one. So it's kind of hard for y'all to see. This microphone is very much in the way, and obviously this is kind of small. Let's see if I can tuck you in. All right, so hopefully for all y'all watching on a computer screen, you can kind of see that this little box here is a 8-channel parametric equalizer that is currently on Michael's vocals, right? So one thing that you might notice if you ever get to kind of talking vocals, especially through like a cell phone or like a worse mic, you get these kind of random, kind of loud things. So already there's compression you can do. There's some like de-essing you can do to kind of take out some stuff. But also there's a nice little trick with the EQ, right? So you hop in. Right now I've already got kind of 4 of these things happening. We'll see if I can find any more in Michael's speech.
What new things are there to report? I worked last week.
All right, so let's say, so there's Michael talking. I've got the EQ. I'm adding a spot now. I got number 5. So you bring it up so you get a high Q, maybe put it up around like 9 or above. Okay, so now it's going to be a real narrow, skinny little thing kind of shooting up into the sky. You drag it up all the way up plus 15. So now you've got this tiny little sliver of a cued point that is just skyrocketing 15 dBs over these kind of small frequencies, right? And then you listen and you kind of move it across the spectrum and you listen for wherever there might be a place that there is just like, it kind of becomes echoey. It's clear that like a resonance, you found like a point of resonance. So let's see if we can find something like that. We might not be able to because I might have already taken them out.
What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital. all not for coronavirus related things.
There's a little one, right? Also, you can hear my deep mind in all of its glory. That's the other humming that you're hearing. If you can hear that, I don't know. But, right, if you listen to Michael talk now,
What new things are there to report?
there's this weird little kind of resonance in the low frequency from that 15 up we just did. So now I leave that little spike there. I go back to the gain. I say negative 15 instead of 15. Boop. Take that frequency away.
What new things are there to report? I worked last week.
And now that little resonant frequency is gone. And when I bring that back down to more of a volume, like we're listening
Things
to it
are
at,
there to report. I worked last week. It's
it
actually
feels better.
quite.
So that's a little trick if you're ever kind of going through and working with some spoken vocals and like just kind of things are popping out. You can, there's a lot of them. A lot of times you'll go through and they'll be like 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh shoot, I should put a second 8 channel equalizer on this. 5, 6, 7. Depends on the microphone, depends on the person, right? It's always kind of variable, but it is a, uh, yeah, I'd say like a good trick to know. It's helped out a lot. It's made a lot of this kind of a lot easier, being able to control those kind of crazy frequencies. So hopefully things are more enjoyable to listen to. But this takes us now to the fun part, the part where we get to actually make music. So put the old deep mind back on. As you can tell, maybe or maybe not, when I had it jacked up, you could tell a little more. My deep mind, Behringer Deep Mind 12 synthesizer brain. I guess I could do a little. It's that one. That's the one. It's plugged into this Arturia kind of key lab down here. Mm. It's a great keyboard. It's a fantastic keyboard, but unfortunately, it does kind of have some grounding issues. And my house is not the most grounded place, as well as most places, it seems, at least has grounding issues with the instrument itself. So you get these kind of buzzes. So I gotta like put some EQs on them at first, but still, like the buzz is so quiet relative to my cool patch sounds. I like this pad. I just happen to choose it. This is H8 Blue Dolphin. Maybe we'll try it out. See what happens if we do that underneath, Michael. So here, right, we always want to remember with something like a COVID diary where the music is kind of secondary, right? The music is not necessarily the main focal point. So I always kind of want to be thinking, it's like do something interesting, but also don't get in the way.
Week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It's actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's nothing new to report there. But the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had, and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it, and been like trying some cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show, this Netflix TV miniseries called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas.
I kind of like this patch. I kind of like this sound. Oops, sorry. I guess I was talking to the microphone. I kind of like this patch. Kind of like the sound. I don't like how I was kind of holding it out a little longer. I feel like a little more breath is going to make it better. I'm going to start over.
Week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It's actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's nothing new to report there. But the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had, and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it. And I've been like trying some cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show, this Netflix miniseries called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas, back in the '90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and it's pretty dramatic. So that's been kind of interesting to watch. What else have I been doing? Starting to try and work out again. I've gained like 15 pounds just sitting on the couch eating. So trying to go for runs or do some like body weight exercises to try and get the pounds off would be nice by the time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that they're like opening up the parks and like golf and fishing and stuff. So hopefully, as long as things um, don't get worse all of a sudden, we're kind of on the up and up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. Um, this week, again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So going to be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory. So I've been playing through all those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash. Um, we'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading. Hopefully the weather stays a little bit nicer. And yeah, continue working out, trying to lose weight, and cooking. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to the next 5 or 6 days. And then I work again next week. So we'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
There we go. All right, that's a little something. Maybe drag it over so we start a little more at the beginning because I'll play it over the end anyways.
Week 6. What news things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's not nothing.
So then, right, I like to take something like that, especially since we're trying to create something that is kind of separate from the vocals. Because, right, you want to be able to kind of like appreciate the music and listen to the music, but you don't want it to get in the way of the actual vocals and the people who are talking. So I like to use a lot of reverb. I just like to use a lot of reverb on this stuff. So we're gonna crank it up in the little reverb bus here. I've got a H reverb probably on the default setting. Now it's on the large verb setting. There you go. Very exciting. Um, but yeah, we're crank some reverb into that.
Recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same week 6. What news things are
You can
there to
really kind of
report?
verb it out.
I worked last week. It was actually quite busy.
I'm also going to take out some of that little like mid. I'll leave some of the super lows. And I'll take out some of the like sort of mid stuff to leave a little bit more space for Michael's vocals and to demuddy that sound just a little bit. Take a little bit out around 250, around 500. And a little notch down at 1K. We'll boost it up at 2 and 4K. A little at 8K. And we'll notch down 31 because who cares? Nobody needs this to be booming.
Week 6. What news things are there to report?
See how that sounds.
I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things.
I like a little more thousand
so
in there.
By actually pretty quickly since I was kind of.
I agree. Reverb is always the answer. In a lot of situations, it's the best decision.
Kind of the usual stuff, so it's nothing new to report there. But in the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into the.
Cool. That feels pretty good, right? Then I'm going to do something that I do a lot these days, which is I'm going to use the old J37 stereo, which is a Waves plugin that does a tape emulation and just sounds great pretty much on everything. It's hard. It's like hard how great it sounds because then you just want to use it all the time. And that seems like a bad idea, but then I just use it all the time. Here I am using it again. Right.
Week 6. What news and things are there to
Just by
report?
itself, it's kind of hard to understand
I
what the
worked last
plugin
week.
does, except for
As
just
I
kind of
moved
make
into
it
my
sound
apartment,
better.
we had a lot of
It's
people in
kind
the
of
house,
emulating running it through different
all
versions of
not
tape.
for
You have control over
coronavirus
certain
related
things. I'm
things.
going to boost up the
So the week
saturation a
went by
bit.
actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just
It's
busy
going to
working
kind
for
of
most of
make
the
the sound
time.
have a little grit, just like a little
Work
more
is
interesting, you know?
kind of the usual
Maybe
stuff,
let's
so
put a kind of slow
nothing
warble
new
on
to
this whole
report
thing,
there.
too.
But
Um,
in the time outside of work,
like
let's see.
41.
I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had,
That's a little much.
and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it, and I've been like trying some cast iron skillet
I feel like I want some more
cooking
highs on this
recipes
thing.
over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun.
I kind of like the wobble,
Same kind of
though.
other things.
And toss the ping pong on there as
Trying to do some
well.
reading. I
You
started
know,
watching this
let's do eighth note
show,
triplets.
this
Why not? You
Netflix
know,
TV
eighth note
miniseries
triplets.
called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas, back in the '90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't
I
know
find that a
how
ping pong delay is really
historically
good for this
accurate it
sort
is,
of
but it's
thing
got a pretty good cast, and
because
there's
I've got Michael just in the middle. And the
pretty
ping pong
fun.
just kind of sends things
Pretty
back and
interesting to
forth, right?
watch.
So then you end up with kind of like a
Um,
wonderful, naturally separated mix.
Starting to try and work out
Um,
again. I'm
and
gaining
I
like
don't know. I think it
15
sounds good.
pounds just sitting on the couch eating. So, trying to go for runs or do some like body weight exercises to.
Cool, right? That's a cool first layer. I like to name my layers after the sound, so I got to check that real quick. H8. That'll be layer H8. Cool. Shboodaboodoo. And then let's do another layer. Um, right. Again, this is sort of atmospheric music, so that kind of carried the majority of the chordal information. I'm gonna write down the chords just real quick so I don't forget. There's D minor, C major. Nothing confusing here. B minor, A major. Sweet. And now I think we kind of enter maybe a little more textural domain. I'm gonna kind of flip around the deep mind to check out, see if there's any other sounds that could be more interesting in the kind of peppery background. Let's see what we can come up with. That's a little much. There could be some fun there. Let's find out.
Week 6. What news and things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time.
I kind of like it.
Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's nothing new to report there. But in the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was.
I like it, but I like it. I think it's something that's going to come in a little later. So let's just kind of scooch on into the song after a little while, and try not to go too hard with it. I think subtle is going to be the key on this one.
This show, this Netflix TV miniseries called.
That seems like that was a D. Let's start on that one.
Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show, this Netflix TV miniseries called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas, back in the '90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and it's pretty dramatic, so that's been kind of interesting to watch. What else have I been doing? I'm starting to try and work out again. I've gained like 15 pounds just sitting on the couch eating, so trying to go for runs or do some like body weight exercises to try and get the pounds off would be nice by the time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that they're like opening up the
I think it's
parks
kind
and
of
like
fun.
golf and fishing and stuff. So hopefully, as long as things um, don't get worse all of a sudden, we're kind of on the up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. Um, this week, again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So
That middle one was too
going to be
loud.
playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory. So I've been playing through all of those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash.
Early.
Um, we'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading. Hopefully the weather stays a little bit nicer. And yeah, continue working out, trying to lose weight and cooking. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to the next 5 or 6 days. And then I'm working again next week. So we'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
And there's that little layer. All right, so that's not perfect, but again, I don't need it to be perfect. But let's go back and fix a few of them that were just apparently wrong
I think I don't
placement.
know how historically accurate. Got a pretty good cast, and there's
That's pretty cool sounding.
thing to watch. What else have I been doing? I'm starting to try.
I can generally do this visually too. A lot of times, they'll tell you not to, but I personally have found that it works. You just kind of look at the visual and where you're trying to get the thing to be, and
Nice by the time things
like,
start opening.
I don't like that one though.
Be nice by the time
I don't like that either.
the pounds off would be nice by the time things start
There we
opening
go.
up. It's also kind of they're like opening up the.
I think visually is a good place to start. You kind of like just do it real quick. You just get the kind of big bubble lined up with the big bubble with your eyes, and then from there you can always kind of readjust with your ears because obviously your ears have to be happy as the kind of final judge for anything musical. But yeah, I don't know. I never understood the hate on looking at the waveform because you get a lot of useful information from the waveform. I find
What I'm
personally.
looking forward to the next 5 or 6 days, and then I'm working again next week. So we'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
That was a bad one.
We'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
There we go. Now let's go through and check by ear.
This show, this Netflix TV miniseries called Waco, is about like the siege in Waco,
Put some
Texas,
reverb on it
in
while
the
we're at it.
90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I think I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and there's it's pretty dramatic, so it's been kind of interesting to watch. What else have I been doing? I'm starting to try and work out again. I've gained like
A little too
15
much, but it's
pounds
cool.
just sitting on the couch eating. So trying to go for runs or do some like body weight exercises to try and get the pounds off would be nice by the time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that they're like opening up the parks and like golf and fishing and stuff. So hopefully, as long as things um, don't get worse all of a sudden, we're kind of on the up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. This week, again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So going to be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory. So I've been playing through all of those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash. We'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading nicer. And yeah, continue working.
Yeah, these seem pretty good. All right, that gets the name. That name is D13. All right, and that looks pretty good. Let's try to do one more layer for some real kind of textural stuff because I feel like the song right now, it's got some nice. The swelly chords are nice, but we could use something that's just kind of gluing the whole package together. So let's find out. I like that. This is one of my favorite parts of ambient music is when it's real not technical and real just kind of feel based, right? So just gonna make this kind of quiet in the background, throw a bunch of reverb on it, and kind of play, just kind of follow the feeling rather than sort of any sort of music theory or anything like that.
Week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is the usual stuff, so it's nothing new to report there. But in the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had, and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it, and I've been like trying some cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show, this Netflix TV miniseries called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas, back in the '90s or whatever, with the branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and it's pretty dramatic, so it's been kind of interesting to watch. Um, what else have I been doing? I'm starting to try and work out again. I've gained like 15 pounds just sitting on the couch eating, so trying to go for runs or do some like body weight exercises to try and get the pounds off and be nice by the time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that they're like opening up the parks and like golf and fishing and stuff. So hopefully, as long as things um, don't get worse, all of a sudden we're kind of on the up and up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. This week again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So gonna be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory card just to fill up the Switch's memory. So I've been playing through all of those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash. We'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading. Hopefully the weather stays a little bit nicer. And yeah, continue working out, trying to lose weight and cooking. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to the next 5 or 6 days. And then I work again next week. So we'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
Right. So that looks like a whole lot of garbage while I do it, but it sounds pretty good. And that's something that I found to be like really the case with this stuff. Like a lot of times with this kind of atonal sort of like synth stuff. Yeah, thank you, Drew. Fantastic technique. I agree. No, but like right, that it's just this. It's not so much. Right, it has nothing to do with the notes. It just kind of has to do with like kind of trying to create different moments. Right, they're just kind of waves of sound at that point. So it doesn't really have to do like kind of. And it's just kind of more volume when you're just pressing more notes, sort of in kind of different qualities. So that it's fine if you kind of let your hands be free and really don't think about what you should and shouldn't do, and kind of like let your kind of inner kid out. Um, so you can find a lot of cool things. And one thing I'm going to try is just to do that again now, but then that's going to make like a right ear, left ear thing, and that always kind of makes the whole situation a little more interesting. So let's try that.
Week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's not nothing new to report
Like
there.
this little fluttering sort of motion looks like it's
Time
entirely
outside of
arbitrary, but it kind of
work,
keeps the
let's see.
sound
I
down
found when I moved into my apartment,
in
I
this sort of like
picked up
low
a bunch
hum,
of
and you can kind of create little mini
random stuff from
waves
my
by
grandma who
holding
was
some
moving out of
fingers a
her
little longer
apartment.
than
And so I
others,
found
right?
this
And
old
if you want a real
cast iron
moment, you just kind of
skillet that
slam a
she
hand
had.
down, and that
So
kind of
I
like rips one up for you,
scrubbed it
right?
down, got my
And
hands
depending on
all
how high
rusty.
you slam that hand
It's
down, you'll
actually
get
been
different
like
registers of
trying
that
some
moment.
cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has
Slam
been
some
kind of
things,
fun.
get some different kind of
Same kind of
vibratos and
days.
things.
Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show
Sometimes now it's hard to understand which one is the track that I'm currently doing and which one is the track that I
in Waco,
previously did.
Texas, back in the '90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I think I don't know how historically. What else have I been doing? Starting to try and work out again. I've gained like
You
15
can see kind of
pounds
the
just based
experience
on
of
eating.
listening
So
to the same person, the same interview over and over again can be kind of
some like body weight
something.
exercises to
It's an experience right there, right? You get really
balance it
used to
out,
the
which is
story.
nice. But they
Um,
started opening
but
up
it's nice they're all my
development
friends,
rights.
so it makes it a little easier.
They're like opening up the parks and like gull fishing and stuff. So hopefully, as long as things um, don't get worse all of a sudden, we're kind of on the up and up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. Um, this week again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So gonna be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory. So I've been playing through all of those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash. Um, we'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading. Hopefully the weather stays a little bit nicer. And yeah, continue working out, trying to lose weight, and cooking. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to the next 5 or 6 days. And then I work again next week. So we'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
Voila! And then we do the old slam left, slam right, and make it quieter because it's really kind of taking over the show right now.
Week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not
I'm gonna
for
toss a chorus on one of
coronavirus
these
related
too because
things.
it's
So the
not
week
gonna
went by
sound
actually
bad.
pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's not nothing new to report there. But the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had, and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it, and I've been like trying some cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of
Right, so that's fun now too because it's the same sound recorded twice in 2 years, but like with different performances. So it gives this kind of auto pan effect that sort of naturally unveils itself through the use of this. Yeah, and then we come in on the second half
started
of this.
watching this show, this Netflix TV
Yeah, use a little
series
more of
called
those
Waco. It's
lows.
about like the siege in Waco, Texas,
Yeah, there
back
we
in the
go.
'90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and it's pretty dramatic, so it's been kind of interesting to watch. Um,
Cool. I feel like the thing that could really kind of iron this piece out, or at least kind of like really kind of make it feel a little more complete, is just a little bit of like Rhodes or Wurlitzer. So in order to do that, I got to unplug a few things and plug a few things back in. But just give me a hot second. Ugh. Wow. Okay, that was an experience. Not the most capable when it comes to not being clumsy. That's certainly always been the case. Okay, and then this guy needs to turn on. So now I'm turning on just for those who care. This little guy right here, which is my Nord. It's my little secret Nord. It's a Nord Electro 1. It's obviously it's not painted red because somebody took the time to put a fake wood finish on it, and I bought it off Craigslist just like that. It's very cool. Oh goodness, you probably can't hear me at all. I just realized that. But yeah. Anyways, this is my Nord that I'll be playing in order to make the Wurlitzer thing. It's got a nice little wood finish that somebody else once did before me because I just bought it off Craigslist like this. But I'm a fan. At least it's not bright red. Not that there's anything wrong with it being bright red, but just a change of pace, something different to see on stage. Yeah, I'm gonna mess around playing some Nord here. See what happens.
Started watching
That's real quiet.
week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's not nothing new to report there. But the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had, and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it, and I've been like trying some cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show, this like TV miniseries called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas, back in the '90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and it's pretty dramatic, so it's been kind of interesting to watch. Um, what else have I been doing? Starting to try and work out again. I've gained like 15 pounds just sitting on the couch eating. So uh,
You know better. The consensus, internal consensus, is we could do better.
week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's not nothing new to report there. But the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had, and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it, and I've been like trying some cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show, this Netflix TV miniseries called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas, back in the '90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and it's pretty dramatic, so it's been kind of interesting to watch. What else have I been doing? I'm starting to try and work out again. I've gained like 15 pounds just sitting on the couch eating, so trying to go for runs or do some like body weight exercises to try and get the pounds off would be nice by the time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that they're like opening up the parks and like golf and fishing and stuff. So hopefully, as long as things don't get worse all of a sudden, we're kind of on the up and up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. This week, again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So going to be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory. So I've been playing through all those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash. We'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading. Hopefully the weather stays a little bit nicer. And yeah, continue working out, trying to lose weight and cooking. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to the next 5 or 6 days. And then I work again next week. So we'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
Right on. Thank you, Marissa. That's very kind. Schwadoo, right? So that's we got a little whirly. I think it's a whirly that I ended up choosing, which you correctly identified. Nice job. Cool. Yeah. Now we go and play.
Week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital,
Reverb.
all not
Reverb.
for coronavirus related things. So it went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's nothing new to report there. But in the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment,
Now, one thing that happens is I always record my Nord in mono, in part because I'm lazy, and in part because sometimes it has a weird noise in stereo. But then, what do we talk about that makes things that are mono that more interesting in stereo sometimes, especially when it's keyboards? It's ping pong delay. We're back to the ping pong delay. Gotta love the ping pong delay. Even give it a little modulation just so it kind of wobbles and out of tune a little bit. Yeah, man, click the lo-fi button. This is a lo-fi project. Why not? See what happens.
Week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's nothing new to report there. But in the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment.
One thing I'm noticing right now is it all sounds real lush and
Cast
nice,
iron
but
skillet that she had.
occasionally I'm straining to
Totally
hear Michael, like trying to actually understand what he's saying. He's getting away by the rest of the stuff, so I'm just going to pull everything else just back.
Cast
It's
iron
back in
skillet
volume a little bit.
cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this Netflix TV miniseries.
I'm going to toss a compressor on the piano as well, because it's got a good dynamic range, and dynamic range is kind of hard in a project like this. So just try to even out that heat a little bit.
So that's been kind of interesting to watch. What else have I been doing?
That Wurlitzer is also feeling a little bit muddy. So we're going to toss the old EQ on here.
Don't get worse all of a sudden. We're kind of on the up and up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. This week, again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So Gonna be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory. So I've been playing through all of those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash.
The nice thing with something like this, right? Like there's definitely a mistake in there. At one point, I certainly played a B flat chord over what should have been a B chord. I know that because I remember being like, but can you tell? I can't tell, right? It's one of the advantages. It's kind of like really nice and moody thing. Like at one point, there's probably just this moment of tension and it avails itself, which is something I'm always trying to like kind of keep in mind when I'm doing this sort of thing. A lot of times, sometimes like I'll be just kind of playing a thing in a loop, and I'll just be trying to kind of do the same thing over and over again, trying to get it right. And then eventually I give up and I just like use one of the takes that was close enough to write. And then by the time I'm done with it, the mistakes that I made in the take are some of my favorite parts. Like they kind of like stick out as different because especially with this, right? Like this song right here that we're listening to, it's just four chords, right? Just looping over and over again. A mistake kind of creates variety. And it doesn't always have to be like a mistake, but like any sort of kind of like natural variety that can occur. And that's just one kind of variety that comes out and is kind of surprising. So it's pretty fun for that. Yeah, Burrs. Yeah, I mean, I think this one's kind of come pretty as far as the sort of compositional process. I think I might just hit play, listen through, do some last minute mixing, and then talk about bouncing it. Cool.
Week 6. What new things are there to report? I worked last week. It was actually quite busy. We had a lot of people in the hospital, all not for coronavirus related things. So the week went by actually pretty quickly since I was kind of just busy working for most of the time. Work is kind of the usual stuff, so it's nothing new to report there. But the time outside of work, let's see. I found when I moved into my apartment, I picked up a bunch of like random stuff from my grandma who was moving out of her apartment, and so I found this old cast iron skillet that she had, and so I like scrubbed it down, got my hands all rusty, and then re-seasoned it. And I've been like trying some cast iron skillet cooking recipes over the past couple days, which has been kind of fun. Same kind of other things. Trying to do some reading. I started watching this show, this Netflix TV miniseries called Waco. It's about like the siege in Waco, Texas, back in the '90s or whatever, with the Branch Davidians. It's actually pretty interesting. I don't know how historically accurate it is, but it's got a pretty good cast, and it's pretty dramatic. So that's been kind of interesting to watch. What else have I been doing? Starting to try and work out again. I've gained like 15 pounds just sitting on the couch eating. So trying to go for runs or do some like body weight exercises to try and get the pounds off would be nice by the time things start opening up. It's also kind of nice now that they're like opening up the parks and like golf and fishing and stuff. So hopefully, as long as things don't get worse all of a sudden, we're kind of on the up and up, and hopefully won't be totally locked down for too much longer. This week, again, I'm off of work this week, kind of my hockey line shift. So going to be playing a lot of Nintendo Switch. Ordered a bunch of extra games. Had to buy an extra memory card because I filled up the Switch's memory. So I've been playing through all of those: Animal Crossing, Zelda, Super Smash. We'll see. Probably find some more stuff to watch on TV. Do some more reading. Hopefully the weather stays a little bit nicer. And yeah, continue working out, trying to lose weight and cooking. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to the next 5 or 6 days. And then I work it again next week. So we'll repeat, rinse and repeat.
Love a good delay trail, always feels good. Cool. Right on. That sounds like a COVID diary to me. If it does you, maybe you're right. Or maybe take a listen to the rest of them and see how they're all pretty much kind of something like this. Um, yeah, this was kind of an example of one, right? I did it mostly with the Deep Mind, so it's mostly like a synthesizer one with a little bit of Wurlitzer, just for the kick. Um, but sometimes I like to do them with the upright piano or the acoustic guitar outside, or kind of like all sorts of different versions. I think about it sort of again as I sort of talked at the beginning with this project, since I have to make 11 of these a week. And it's so much more about the quantity necessarily than any one thing being like pristine and perfect. One of the ways that I've sort of been working is in this idea of like stations. I have like workstations, and this is one of those stations. You have enjoyed the DeepMind and Nord station this evening. If we choose to do this again, which is up to the powers that be above me at MusicWorks, I hope y'all enjoyed watching me. I guess just kind of fiddle around in Ableton and make some music. Um, Thank you so much for all the people kind of commenting. Drew off the podium and Marissa, thank you for sticking out and hanging around, checking out what was going on. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the story. I'm gonna end that there. Again, the COVID diaries are available for all to listen to. 11 individuals slash now I guess it's up to 15, and it'll be like 16 or 17 next week. Once a week or on some kind of regularized schedule, talking about their existence in quarantine, with the hopes of us being able to kind of find, um, some kind of truth behind all this media noise that we're all surrounded with. Media is pretty tricky these days, so I figured primary source documents. Let's make some primary source documents. Thank you, Marissa. And yeah, I hope you all had a good evening, and probably see you again at some point. This is Sous Chef signing off, and have a great day. And